Just had to get all the ducks in a row. Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is, what is it? Drama. Today's topic is drama and how we can create all kinds of drama in our lives to keep us engaged and entertained. And interestingly, as we cultivate a greater sense of presence and peace, when the drama starts falling away, we might experience a sense of boredom even. And I want to look at this this drama phenomenon to talk about how we create all this unnecessary chaos in our lives to distract us, perhaps, from the actual experience of being. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, energizing all your cells and your electrons and your molecules, and creating this brilliant beam of light from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's just gently press our palms together and very, very softly rub your fingers against your palms to feel the deliciousness of that sensation, the tickling, the tingling, the softness, and allow yourselves to become present right here, right now, in these remarkable physical forms that enable us to experience life. Good morning, Lisa. Welcome. Lisa says, I'm on time today, LOL. I'm so glad you're here to join us, Lisa. And welcome to everybody else who's joining us. I just want to invite you to comment. It's always good to engage in conversation around this topic. So I want to talk about drama. I find it really interesting. I've encountered this with several of my clients, that as they become more present, as they become more peaceful, sometimes they experience this sense of boredom. Good morning, Isabel. So good to have you joining us today. We're talking about drama. And, you know, I'm sure, and Rosalind, good morning. Yes, exactly. Rosalind says the topic reminds me of the words drama queen. And I think that we all have experience in our lives with drama queens and drama kings, and maybe even intimate experience with them. You know, maybe our own lives might be filled with all kinds of drama. And I can say that certainly my past was a lot more dramatic than it is now. Bonjour, Dennis. So good to have you here. You're so funny. Welcome. And today we're talking about drama. And I think the bottom line is that we create drama, and people whose lives have lots and lots of drama in them might really actively, aggressively debate that assertion. However, I'm of the hypothesis, I'm going to say even more than belief, that we do create our lives. And, we talk about frequency, we talk about energy, law of attraction, all of that great stuff, and how our thoughts and our frequency and our emotions attract experiences. So when we're really reactive, it's very likely that we can create drama out of a situation, or make a situation into something incendiary, explosive, that doesn't have to be, right? If we were more present and non-reactive, we might diffuse that situation rather naturally, and it would never evolve into drama. And I think we indulge in lots of vehicles of entertainment, right? Whether it be TikTok or YouTube or TV, or we watch all these dramas, right? But we also create them in our everyday lives. So Lisa says, I work second shift at work. I hate the shift, but there's no minutia. I'm able to stay above the fray and the ogre who runs the place. LOL. I remember you were talking about some massive issues with your boss. Lisa says, I was going to crap. LOL. I can only imagine, right? Like when we are immersed in office drama, for instance, or workplace drama, where this one is talking about that one, and this one hates that one, and that one hates this one, and did you hear what so-and-so did? I mean, it's craziness, right? One of the fuels for drama is gossip. So we'll talk about that in a second. Lisa said to call all that stuff crap, but missed the word. Okay, yes, call all that stuff crap for sure. So here's the thing. Gossip fuels drama. Gossip is one of the main factors in drama. Hello, Robert. Haven't seen you here for a while. Welcome. It's great to have you joining us. We miss you. So when we talk about drama, and we can see that it's fed by gossip, people talking about people, and it's kind of like whisper down the lane, and so did such and such, and did you hear, and all of this stuff. We, rather than continuing the whisper down the lane, we get to be the place where the buck stops, So Isabel says, yes, so true. I grew up in drama and perpetuated drama for a good portion of my life until I really awakened from all the illusions. Absolutely. To recognize that, wait a second, is this interaction coming from a place of my personal alignment? Am I centered? Am I aligned? Am I representing my core self? Am I communicating from a place of possibility? We get to choose the way we engage. The other thing is that when drama comes to us, we can get very reactive about it. That perpetuates the drama. And so as we find more peace, we're able to just flow with things more readily, and let it just flow by rather than getting immersed and getting engaged and getting reactive and getting angry and getting even and getting, like whatever all this craziness might be. Lisa says, I used to be guilty of that, but no more gossip for me. You want to know all. Lisa says, my thoughts aren't flowing clearly today. Yes, but the gossip mill is a mill that will grind you up. And don't imagine that your participation in it isn't going to come with a cost. 1,000%. Good morning, Robin. So good to have you joining us this morning. Lisa says, ask. You want to know? Ask. Exactly. So here's a kind of a golden rule. Don't say anything about anybody that you wouldn't be willing to say to their face. And that, don't follow rumors about someone. If there are rumors about someone that have come to your attention, address it with them. If it impacts you, address it with them. Bernadette, good morning. Good morning. So good to have you joining us. We're talking about drama and how gossip is one of the primary fuels of drama. And when we allow ourselves to step out of gossip, then we start creating a greater place of peace and authenticity, right? When we talk about people behind their backs, we're engaging in really low frequency kind of behavior. Like we can, it's really interesting to me. Like I have family members who have said, this is going on for that person and it makes me so sad and I worry about them. And good morning, Dido. How awesome to have you joining us. We're talking about drama and how gossip is a foundational part of perpetuating drama in our lives. And also the phenomena that when we become more centered and peaceful and present, all of a sudden drama can start disappearing and life can get really boring because we don't have all the adrenaline hits of danger and intrigue and all this other craziness. So Bernadette says, I hate gossip. It only hurts people. It's true. And so when someone comes to you with gossip, the question is, how do we tamp the fire or do we feed the fuel? Do we fuel it? And, I think we get to look at the cost to ourselves and others of creating this undercurrent, this foment, this ugliness. To what end? So Bernadette says, I hate gossip. It only hurts people. I agree 100%. And Rosalind says it's very painful. I don't engage in gossip. And that's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that you guys you're already on the train. Of course, that's no surprise. Lisa says, we had new dispatchers start and I had to tell the young office manager to set a different tone than with the others. I explained by telling the new hires all the problems, etc. It colors their experience. This is part of the problem and why we have a revolving door. So yes, so that you bring up a good point, Lisa. We shape other people's experiences of us and of circumstances in the way that we bring our presence to a situation and communicate about it. And I think like honesty and communication are remedies for gossip and for a lot of drama. So Bernadette says, when people try to share gossip with me, my first question is this about you or you witnessed it firsthand? Exactly. Like it, because things can become very, very, very distorted. And Bernadette says, if it's not, I'll say for them to take their opinion somewhere else. When someone approaches me about a complaint they have about, or with a complaint they have about another person, I suggest that they direct it with that person, or they look at what their upset is and how they can resolve it for themselves. So we can all see how charged this topic is, because I think we've all been at the effect of it, where people have been talking about us behind our backs or whatever. If we notice that that's the case, or we become, or we're made aware that so and so is talking about you or me, then to me the obvious thing is to go to them and say, hey, what's going on? I heard this. I wanted to address it with you directly. What's happening? Anything that you have to say about me, please say to me. If we have an issue, let's address it together. It doesn't have to be something that is expanding out into the general population, right? Let's have this conversation together. So I think that there is, what are we looking at? Honesty, integrity, alignment, communication, presence. So Robin says, the she said, they said, he said, it gets all discombobulated like the circle of a comment. It starts one way and then returns totally different. Yes, like I don't know if you ever played the game, I think it's called Telephone. It's whispered down the lane, essentially, where one person whispers to somebody else, and at the end you can see that it has no relation to where you started. So for sure, that's where gossip is a major factor in creating drama, because people get indignant and reactive, right? And sometimes even when you address it directly, it doesn't change it, but at least it puts a stop to things. Or ideally, we can hope that it would put a stop to the whisper down the lane chain. Bernadette says, I would not say anything about anyone else unless I've already shared what I'm about to say to that person. Exactly. So like if I say something about someone, I will first speak, I've already said this to them, and I have no problem saying this to them directly, or whatever, like that. I would never, never is a strong word. So I don't know, there may have been instances where this wasn't the case, but when we're talking about someone, first off, what good does it ever do to talk cruelly about someone? Maybe I can talk about my own frustration and ask for support and assistance in maybe managing a situation. Let's see. Rosalind says, maybe gossip is a version of projecting onto others that they should do something to address the issue. Well, the thing is that that's if I don't think that that's gossip. I think that there's a different conversation there, and if we can talk to people about issues that need to be addressed directly, that's a heck of a better way to be functioning in society, right? I guess I should have called this gossip rather than drama, but I think it's important for us to look at the drama that we create in our lives, not just through gossip, but through our own reactivity, right? And as we become less reactive, there's a whole lot less drama. And then potentially boredom can set in because we were addicted to the drama. And so I wanted to make sure we get to address that point as well. Lisa says it could be a hard lesson to learn. It's very easy to be negative, and negativity feeds on itself, right? Sometimes if you're positive, people just are like, oh, come on, don't be ridiculous. But if you're negative, they'll just take the baton and run with it, right? Lisa continues, I believe most people don't even realize the collateral damage. Exactly. They may only cause a ripple when you say it, but it hits someone like the biggest wave there is. 100% that can happen where, just the fact that people are talking about you behind your back, or that there's all this drama going on with all the different people in families. We see it all the time, crazy, crazy drama. And even when you're involved, even when the drama is revolving around you, we in our place of presence have an ability to diffuse it or diffuse the experience of it by being non-reactive, right? When we can allow it to just flow, or allow things to take its course, or to find compassion in recognizing where it's coming from, we engage in a very, very different way that then doesn't necessarily perpetuate the drama, right? Lisa, replying to Rosalind, says, my mom always said, you hate most in others what you hate most in yourself. 1,000%, Lisa. Thank you for that. In which case it is full on projection. So I don't know if you've noticed that, but that is such a perfect observation. And it is 100% true that the things that disturb us most in others, whether it be parents or children or relations or friends or strangers, the things that we criticize most in others are typically things that are related to the things that we most dislike about ourselves, or the things that we have worked on hardest for ourselves. So for instance, you can just the smoking scenario, where someone who is a reformed, big air quotes, a reformed smoker, someone who's quit smoking is many times a really, really extreme critic of people who smoke, right? Because that's something that they have struggled with themselves, and they're always on alert about it. And so there's a projection onto others, a judgment onto others. We've talked about how judgment is a defense. So, recognizing that we do tend to project. Let's see, Lisa says she was a very wise person, your mom. She also said everyone knows when they're being a shit. That's funny, Lisa. Your mom sounds like she was a pistol. Anyway, it's really interesting when you call people, when people are being less than their best selves, and you call them on it. Oftentimes they just dig in deeper and become more convicted about the righteousness of their horrible behavior. People are so interesting. We're interesting. What can I say? Robin says generally it goes back to one person in a family is the drama queen. I'm a victim of gossiping. I have been too, Robin. And you can feel like you're ganged up on when the other members of the family have, are sharing opinions and perceptions about you, and so you're getting the brunt of it, but you're not knowing what the backstory is. And that also creates drama. And so one of the things that we can do, which may create more drama or may stop it in its trail, is to address whatever it is that's going on, to say, hey, what's happening here? You want to have a conversation about it? Like, what's going on? And there are other times where it's just best to let it be and let it flow off of you, right? Anyway, this is a lively topic, right? We've all experienced drama in our lives, and hopefully we've experienced the reduction of drama in our lives, and hopefully we have been able to find a place of peace where we can move beyond the quiet that might initially feel like boredom. Boredom because there's not all this stuff happening that you have to juggle and handle and mitigate and manage. And what happens when we gossip is that we feed this drama. And drama is also, so the two main things that we're talking about today in regard to how drama is manufactured is by our own reactivity. So by becoming more present, more peaceful, drama dissolves to a very great degree. And the other is behavior of gossiping, which perpetuates drama within a group. And I think that those are probably at this moment the two main factors that I can recognize, because the reactivity is our own response to circumstances that then can create more drama, or that makes something drama to begin with. And then the gossiping just is like an accelerant. So Isabel says, in relationships with families and friends, we attract issues that are not solved inside of you yet, even when we think we're over it. It's so true, Isabel, because we still carry the frequency that's attracting whatever that is. Isabel says, being humble enough to search for what's triggering us now with this situation. So very good observation. Again, going back to curiosity, we talked about curiosity this week and how curiosity is an antidote to judgment, where instead of reacting, we can start getting curious and it shifts. So Lisa says, so since my daughter won't talk to me, I've been invited to go to Delaware to be with Tommy's family, and then he's taking me to Vegas. Oh, that's awesome, Lisa. See? You're finding a way to redirect your attention, allow your daughter to go through what she's going through, and live life. So congratulations, I'm thrilled for you. Isabel says, it is beautiful, honest introspection for a great opportunity to heal and move on finally. Absolutely. So as we allow ourselves to recognize our reactivity, that is feedback. Notice that it's feedback. You don't have to judge it. Yeah, we see our reactivity. Okay, great. I have new information. That information gives me an opportunity to dig more deeply into what is it that had me be so reactive? What's going on there? What does it take to heal that? What do I need to be aware of? What do I need to see that I'm not seeing? Robin says it also goes back to another one of your videos, is the trigger. Find a safe zone to overcome. Thank you, Robin. It's wonderful to know that these lives, some of them have an impact, like that you find them meaningful. I'm really honored that that's the case. So anyway, I'm going to call it a morning. I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I love the engagement today, especially. It's always good to be sharing perspectives and experiences, and I'm just so grateful to you for the opportunity. So I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live each weekday morning here on the Enlightened Network Facebook page at 9 a.m. Eastern. And I invite you to please check out the other awesome programming on the Facebook pages for Enlightened World Network, Enlightened World Living, and EWN One with the Earth. So you guys, I'm just receiving all the love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It feels so empowering and rich being here with you. And again, I'm so grateful for the time and space that you grant me. So much love.